Hi everyone and welcome back to my channel and welcome to episode 5? Yes, episode 5 of my knitting for the 1900s series, where I work my way through knitting patterns from the 1900s, one decade at a time. We started at the 90s and we're now at 50s. I'm really excited about this one because for the 50s I'm going to make a bed jacket, and it has a really interesting lacy design that I'm really excited to try out. I mean, I already tried it out because I made a swatch, so I know how it looks on a tiny little swatch, but I'm really excited to turn this into an entire bed jacket. I have this image in my mind of like a wintry, frosty vibe that this gives, and mainly because I'm knitting this in white. The yarn I'm using is the Lang Yarns Yowel Superwash yarn in shade 2433, so that's a white shade. It just gives me winter princess vibes. The pattern I'm using is yet another cedar pattern. I'm sorry, I know I've made a lot of those, but they just have a really good catalogue of old knitting patterns, so I got this one from them. This is the number 1668, called Ladies Bed Jacket Knitted or Crocheted, because you can also crochet it, but I'm knitting it. There are not as many instructions as there were for the 60s project. There are only 3 pages, and one of them is just the basic information about the knitting tension, the materials you need, so it's only 2 pages of instructions really, and that's also divided into knitting and crocheting, so it's not a lot of instructions. We'll see how this is gonna go. It's also just one size, and it says that it is suitable for various bust sizes from 32 to 42 inches. I do fit within the category, so it should be fine for me, but it's not very inclusive, and I think that's going to be an even bigger problem when we go further back into time. And the first set of instructions is just to cast on 69 stitches and then do the pattern repeat, which is an 8-row pattern repeat, and do that for 88 inches. So pretty straightforward, and I will be doing that first, and then we can go into some more shaping and making the yoke, borders, whatever. So I'm now just casting on those 69 stitches using the long tail cast on method, which is my go-to cast on method. And like I said, I made a swatch already, mainly because I needed to figure out which yarn to use, because with these older patterns it's not very clear. They just give you the knitting tension and you kind of have to figure it out yourself. And I actually had some of this yarn left over from some pair of socks I made a while ago, and I thought maybe this would work, so I made a test swatch mainly to see if I could use this yarn for this project, and it turned out fine, and I got the right, I think I got the right gauge. It's really difficult to tell because it's a pattern, a lacy pattern, so it's difficult to count the stitches, but I think I did it right, and even if it's just a little bit off, it should be alright, because this is not an exact size I'm making and it should fit anyway. But I really like how the swatch turned out, and then I decided to just go with that yarn. I ordered 4 skeins of this yarn. Hope that's enough, I really don't know. But yeah, I'm excited for this one. Fingers crossed that this turns out cute. I already finished one repeat of the 8-row pattern, and it's going pretty quick because, as you can see, it's already pretty long. This one repeat of this pattern is, let me see, a little more than an inch, so only need to do 88 of these basically. I just wanted to show you because one of the main reasons it's going so quick is because of these incredibly long stitches, and they are just done by, on the first row, wrapping the yarn around twice when you're knitting each stitch. And then on the second row you just knit those stitches, but you drop the second loop that you made. And the next row you kind of create the bubble-like effect by knitting and purling twice into one stitch, and then knitting 4 stitches together. Now, knitting 4 stitches together is really difficult to do, really annoying. So I kind of made the executive decision to slip 2 stitches, then knit 2 together, and then passing the 2 slip stitches over. I don't think I can see a difference between the two. So far so good. I'm gonna keep going till this is 88 inches. I have a little confession to make. I'm getting pretty bored of doing this. I finished about almost half of it. Doesn't even, barely fits into frame. This is, I believe, 36 inches and I need to do 88. So yeah, not even halfway there. But it's getting a little bit repetitive and I'm getting bored of this and my hair got stuck in my decorations. Okay. And because I'm getting bored of it, I also feel like I'm going slower and I'm losing motivation to keep working on this. So I decided to put this to the side for a little bit and start working on the next piece. I will say I am finally getting the hang of this pattern because at the beginning I kept messing up. Because you start with 69 stitches and then I kept getting one stitch too many or I missed a stitch. I don't know. I kept thinking I did something wrong and I kept doing some decreases, increases to get back to 69 stitches. And then I actually started counting the stitches in the pattern. And I realized that after the third row of the 8-row pattern, you are supposed to have 70 stitches instead of 69. And then after the 7th row, you go back to 69. So I was doing it right, but I thought I was doing it wrong. So it took a while before I figured it out, but now I figured it out and it's actually looking good. I will say I really like how it looks, but yeah, I'm just getting bored of doing 88 inches of this, so let's do something else in the meantime. I decided to start working on some of the other parts of the pattern that are not in the lace pattern. So I started working on the left front border, I believe, or right, I don't know. It's the border that goes along, so this will also be the button band. And this first one I'm doing is where the buttons will be, so not the buttonhole. So I'm just going to knit. This is great because it's 175 rows of just plain garter stitch over 8 stitches. It should go pretty quick. I've already done 10. Let me show you up close. So this should go pretty quickly. And then I'm going to work on the other band, which will have the buttonholes. And I feel like at that point I can also start to think about the buttons, because it doesn't give a button size. So I feel like I need to make the buttonholes first to figure out what size buttons I need, and then I can look if I have something in my stash or if I need to buy some. I'm gonna keep working on this. Maybe after I've done the bands, I feel like going back to the lace portion, or if not, I'm just going to continue doing the yoke because that also needs to be done. We'll see. For now, I'm gonna keep doing this and I'll see you for the next update. Both ribbon pieces are already finished. This took honestly no time at all. I think I spent a couple of hours working on this and it's already done. So that's fantastic. And you may notice that this band is still on the needle, and that's because I now need to work on the yoke. And for the yoke, I'm going to work across these stitches. Then I have to cast on, let me check, 186 stitches. And then I need to get this off of the scrap yarn and back on the needle and work across those stitches as well, so then it all turns into one thing. And I'm going to switch to my circular needles for this. We now have the beginning of the yoke. So let me just check. Yeah, so it's just a lot of rows of, I think, plain garter stitch, and then there's going to be some increases, decreases to give it shape. But yeah, this is the beginning of the yoke and I'm just gonna keep on knitting. Well, I finished the yoke. Here it is. There's a lot of winding the yarn multiple times around the needle in this pattern, because you can see that here we have on both edges those elongated stitches that come from winding the yarn around the needle multiple times. But yeah, it's looking great. And this does mean, however, that I now need to go back to the lace portion, because there is no other knitting to be done. Well, no, there is other knitting to be done, but to do that I need to finish the lace first and then attach the lace to the yoke, and then I need to do, there's some waist ribbing and other ribbing. I just know that I now need to finish the 88 inches of lace. Will take a while. I'm now at 40, I believe. So yeah, I have to get back to this. I will say it's a nice change to now get back to this again. This is also bigger needles than the Yoke, so it feels a little bit quicker. I've already done one pattern repeat. I think it was a good idea to kind of take a break from this and do the Yoke first, because now I have, let's call it, fresh energy to get back into this. So I'm going to spend hours and hours and hours finishing this lace, and then we can kind of put it together, which is exciting, because then I can see what it may look like when it's finished. Okay, it's actually been a little while since my last update, and I've done a couple of things in the meantime. First thing is that I finished the lace portion. I actually made it 10 inches shorter. I may regret that when I'm going to finish this, but for now it's fine. I just got so bored of doing the lace portion and I had to finish it. So I did, kind of. Then I sewed the long part of the lace portion to the collar up here. So it's now attached like this, and I also made a little mistake. I also sewed the short side to these bottom bands, which I didn't have to do yet. I actually first need to do the ribbing around the waistline, and I've already done one right here. And for this I just had to pick up, I think, 42 stitches along the first 8 inches of the lace portion, and then after that you are supposed to sew the bottom bands to the whole thing, not just to this part, which makes way more sense. So I did one and just worked a 2x2 rib for that. I've just started working on the second one for the front. So this is the left front, this will be the right front. Then I need to do the same for the back. But yeah, it's definitely looking better now that I've sewn some of it together. I'm now just going to finish all the ribbing. Then I need to sew the side seams of the ribbing, and I need to sew the bottom bands, like I said before, to the lace and ribbing part. And then there's one final step, which is sewing on the buttons. So I'm going to do all of the knitting that I need to do and sewing, and then I'll see you for the final step, the buttons. So you joined me while I'm sewing on my final button. So I sewed everything together, as you can see. It's actually a thing now, a garment. And I've already sewed on most of these buttons. Here they are. And now I'm doing the final one at the neckline. And the nice thing about this yarn is that it actually comes with a little spool of thread that's matching. So I'm using that one to sew on these buttons. While I'm sewing on this final button, I think it's time for some reflections. And I will say that I really expected to be in a bit more trouble by this time in this series by the 50s. But it was all pretty easy to do. I didn't really have any issues understanding the pattern, except for once where I just had to read the instructions multiple times to understand what they actually wanted me to do. But I got there in the end, so that's fine. Apart from that, no issues. Sizing isn't an issue yet, because this one was one size, but it was pretty broad. So it worked for me, and I think the sizing is going to be more of an issue going forward, because I have the 40s pattern planned out, and I will have to scale that one up to make it work for me. But for now, no issue. And I was going to say I really enjoyed this whole knitting process, but that's not an kind of true. I enjoyed most of it. I did get tired of doing the lace portion, so I made it 10 inches too short, and I already tried it on quickly and I feel like it kind of needed those 10 inches, but I'm just going to make it work. So I got a little bit bored of that, but the other parts were really enjoyable. And I mean, the first couple of inches of the lace was fine. It just got a little bit repetitive, and it's something that you have to pay attention to. So I couldn't just put on the TV and mindlessly knit. You really had to look at your needles, because otherwise it would go wrong with knitting 4 stitches together and doing the knit 1, purl 1, and then again knit 1, purl 1 in the same stitch. That would have gone wrong, I just know it. I do think it looks cute, just holding it up like this. And it does have a bit of a vintage vibe, and I do really like the fabric this lace portion gives. Anyway, now that the buttons are all on, it's done. And I think it's time to put this on and see what it looks like when I'm actually wearing it. So here she is, all done, and I do like it. I do think it definitely would have benefited from having the 10 extra inches, or should I say the actual amount of inches that the pattern calls for, because it may not be as poofy as it could be, or as it's supposed to be. But generally speaking, I like it. I do really like the color as well. I think it looks really cute. And I'm now just wearing it over a party dress, but it is a bed jacket, so should probably wear it differently, but for this review I really like this. And yeah, I'm going to end this 50s episode here. I'm really excited for next episode, the 40s, because that pattern has been on my wish list for a very long time. I've been wanting to make that one for so long. So when I started thinking of this series, I knew that I had to make that one. So I'm really excited for that, and I hope to see you there. For now, thank you for watching. Have a great day. I'm going to leave you with my Hexie Puff update, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye.